Hello everyone and welcome to my channel and welcome to this video. Today I will show you how I painted this cute little cardinal, and for that I have used Centenaire watercolor paper. This is 100% cotton cold press. Also I have used Sennelier watercolors, Scarlet laquer, Carmine, Indanthrene blue, and also I have used some yellow ochre and Venetian red. Also from the white nights I have used Sepia. For the brushes, I've used Dainayw number 2 mop round brush, number 8 Panart mop brush, Raphael number 8 round brush, this Altenew number 3 detail brush, and also this no name detail brush. To mask out the details, I have used this Winsor Newton masking fluid. You can use white gouache or either white acrylic paint or all-purpose paint, and of course a little bit of the salt for the texture. First, I will start with placing my masking fluid onto the eye of my cardinal, his beak, also a couple of spots on his tail and on his body for the feathers. And I have placed some highlights with the masking fluid onto the berries. And with the silicone brush, I have put a masking fluid on top of some of the branches for the snow. I will leave this to dry completely, and now I have just used a spray bottle to spray some water in a couple of spots, so when I touch that part with my brush and paint, it will bleed and create beautiful finishes and some softer edges. So I've mixed Indanthrene blue and Sepia and started painting the background using somewhere a little bit more pigment, somewhere a little bit less, some splatters. And I will try to avoid the berries as much as I can. Later on I will add a little bit more details around them or just paint around them with a bit of the smaller brush. And also in some parts I'm using a little bit more of the Indanthrene blue, in some a little bit more of the Sepia, just to get the variation in my colors. And I do want to have the most pigment on the right side and the left side in the center, where I will place salt for that nice beautiful salt texture. So I'm not gonna put too much of the salt, picking up some Scarlet lacquer, and I'm gonna do a couple of splatters just to add one more color to the background. And now you can see me just go around the berries and also just picking up a little bit of the paint and cleaning up some edges. I left it to dry completely, and you can see how the salt looks now. And picked up some yellow ochre, painted the first layer, first glaze for my bird, and then on top painting it with the Scarlet lacquer. And we will be adding a lot more layers by the end of this painting, so just keep that in mind. These are just the first layers. So painting now on top of the yellow ochre, this is still wet. And just letting those two colors bleed and blend onto my paper. I am leaving some spots painted only with the yellow. And you can see how that undertone just gave a nice shine to red. Picked up a little bit of the Venetian red, mixed it with Scarlet lacquer, and now I'm just topping in, adding it to some parts of my bird just to make a little bit more of variety in the color. And also in some spots I'm lifting the paint to preserve some highlights, especially on her belly, chest and on top of her head. Now just moving on with the second layer, adding a little bit more of the paint. The paint is still wet. I did not leave it to dry. So again, colors are bleeding and blending. And now with this smaller detail brush, I'm lifting a little bit of the paint. And since this is a smaller brush, I can just have a nicer line and a little bit more control when I'm lifting the paint. Also, I'm going to paint in the beak using same Scarlet laquer, same red, and just also on the chest and the belly of my bird. Here at the bottom on the wings, adding a little bit more of the paint. In some spots my paint already dried for the first layer, in some spots it's still wet. So I will have a harsher or just a softer edges and bleeds. I am using this smaller detail brush and not a lot of water in it. Quite creamy consistency of the paint. Just adding it in some spots to again have the variety in colors. This is mix of again Indanthrene blue and Sepia, but this time very saturated. I did not use a lot of water. It's almost black, you can see. I'm painting around the beak and the eye. Some few details on the head. Again, using this detail brush. And also I will be painting the eye. I did put one white dot with the masking fluid and also that ring around the eye. So I will preserve that white. Now I have mixed some Indanthrene blue with a little bit of the Carmine to create the purplish color, and I'm going to paint this upper part of the wing and then have mixed in a little bit more saturated paint and painting some details, same colors but more saturated. And also on the tail. This is now completely dry and I'm adding some details with the red on top of the dry, just to add one more glaze, a little bit more of the pigment, building the layers and details. And this tutorial in real time is available on my Patreon. So if this is going too fast for you, or you want a more detailed, more step-by-step tutorial, you can find it on my Patreon. I will link it in the description box. You might want to go check it out. I do have lots of tutorials there with all different subjects for beginners, a little bit advanced. So it's just worth checking out. Or you can just join in for free to on my Patreon and get the access to many free sketches, including sketch for this painting. And again, link is in the description box if you want to check it out. For the branch, I'm using mix of Venetian red and Sepia. And just lower part of this thicker branch, I do want to paint a little bit darker. And upwards going to the snow, a little bit more of the Venetian red mix in the mix. And the branches, I'm trying to make them as random as possible. We wiggle with my brush just to make them loose and, as I said, as random as possible. Using a very tip of my brush. And not all the lines need to be connected. So now again mixing some Carmine and Scarlet lacquer, and I will paint in the berries. So first I will paint in the circle for each berry, and then I'm just at the lower part at the bottom gonna add a little bit of that purple color, mix of Indanthrene blue and Carmine, just to paint in the shadow. So that's how I will paint all those berries. Also these at the bottom, painted them with Scarlet lacquer and just adding shadows with mix of Indanthrene blue and Carmine. These were too light for me now, and I wanted to add a little bit more of the Scarlet at the top to make them more vibrant. And my bird have dried by now, so I will just add one more glaze layer with Scarlet lacquer and yellow ochre to make again that color even more vibrant, and then some more details with mix of Indanthrene blue and Carmine and touch of sepia in it. I do want to have a stronger contrast between darker and lighter parts, so between the red and this quite dark purple and almost black. A bit more of the details to the chest with mix of Indanthrene blue and sepia, so like that. And also I will just make head of my bird cardinal a little bit taller, add some more feathers at the top. And now I have made sure that my paper is completely dry. I lift off the masking fluid, and I will just add a little bit of the pigment around the eye and on the beak. Now that I've removed my masking fluid, it was just too sharp and too clean for me, so I did want to add a little bit more of the details. And you can see how I covered some parts of that ring around the eye. And with the white gouache, I will add a little bit of the highlights. They look so white at this point, but later on I will do some splatters with that same white for the snows, so everything will blend in together. And also when this pigment dries, it will be a little bit more transparent and not that white. So splatters with white gouache, and also I decided to add a couple of splatters with this grayish tone. And with that, I'll be finishing off. So guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will give it a try. As I said, free sketch is available on my Patreon. Just join for free, and link is in the description box. If you haven't still, please do subscribe to my channel. I have lots of tutorials here for advanced painters and beginners. I'm sure you will find something for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I do hope I will see you next time. Bye!